The story begins with a girl arriving at a residence to work as a babysitter. A babysitter means her job was to take care of the babies in that house. The girl comes inside the house but doesn't see anyone. She calls her mom to tell her that she will stay here tonight. During the call, she hears a strange voice. She follows the voice coming from the basement. She sees but couldn't believe her eyes. Because a lady was sitting there and eating her baby, she sees that girl weirdly. But when the girl tries to run from there, her husband closes the door. After it, that lady ended the girl, and we see a strange mark on the basement door. We will discover about it in the further story. Later, the story after a few years in the present is shown. We see a 17-year-old boy named Ben. He was going to his dad with his younger brother on vacations. Ben reaches his dad, who lives in a town. At dinner, we find out that Ben's parents were taking divorce, and Ben wasn't happy with this at all. That his parents will be separate. Ben's dad used to do job at a port, that's why he takes him with him on his job. There was another house nearby Ben's dad's house, and a family came there on vacations. There was a couple, and their 2 sons in that family. Ben asks his dad about that family, and he says maybe they came here to stay for a few days on the other side. Ben gets into an argument with a few boys. He was talking to them, meanwhile, a girl named Mallory comes to Ben. She also was a worker here. Then we are shown a forest scene where a lady named Abby was wandering with her son. Actually, it was Abby's family who came near Ben's dad's house for vacations. They were hiking in the forest, but Abby's son got separated from her. He was lost somewhere. Meanwhile, her son sees a weird tree, and there was a tunnel near that tree from which voices were coming. It seems like his mom is calling him. Abby's son panics, but then he sees the mark on the tree that we saw on the basement door. Abby's son takes a picture of that mark, and he sees something strange in that tunnel, like a hand that is calling him towards him. Meanwhile, Abby comes and takes him with her. On the way, her car collides with a deer. It died, and Abby took it home with her. Her husband asks, "Why did you bring it?" She says, "We can have its meat. I will cut it on my own, so that our kids will discover how meat come into the city." She goes to cut that deer with a knife, but she can't, and makes herself and her son dirty. That's why she leaves. Now we see that a strange thing from that deer comes out. Ben also wakes up in his house and feels like someone is walking on the roof. He comes out and finds a hole outside Abby's house. It seems like an animal, and Abby's husband also wakes up. He asks Ben, "What happened?" "Don't worry, go and sleep. It would be an animal." Meanwhile, we see a weird thing behind Ben, which was watching him. The next morning, Abby's son was standing near the hole seen by Ben at night. Ben says while leaving, "Look, move aside," because he felt maybe any animal is hiding there at the same day. Abby comes out while lifting her younger son in her lap and sees that the flowers around their house are withered. It seems like someone is watching them from her house's basement. Ben meets Abby's son on the seashore at noon, who was sleeping in the boat. Ben wakes him up and asks, "What are you doing here?" He says, "I was waiting for my dad. He will take me on the boat today." Hearing this, Ben says, "Okay, listen to me. I will give you a lot of candies bit in return. You will have to tell me if you will feel anything wrong around your house." Because Ben was scared of that night. Ben's dad also likes a girl nowadays with whom he wants Ben to meet, but Ben doesn't want to because he feels that his parents are separating because of her. That's why he goes with Mallory to the party of her friends. Without informing his dad, he drinks a lot and enjoys it a lot. But Mallory's friends do wrong to him at the party, which made him furious. Now at night, it is shown on the monitor screen of Abby's house that her younger son is sleeping in the cart, and there was a strange thing around the cart with shining eyes. Suddenly, the toy of Abby's son fell. Abby also woke up to this noise. She goes to her son's room and gets surprised because her baby wasn't in the cart, there were just woods, and then 2 hands come from downside and pulled Abby. At night, Ben was returning home and sees Abby having her baby in her lap. But before he could stop her, his dad comes, who is getting angry with him because he planned a dinner with that girl whom he likes. But Ben says, "I don't want to meet her dad, as you are leaving my mom because of her." That lady also hears this because she was with Ben's dad. Hearing this about her, she leaves in anger. Abby is shown the next morning doing strange acts, but her husband and kids don't suspect her. Her husband has to go out for some task. Abby's elder son comes into her room and sees her mom without clothes in a weird condition. He gets scared to see her. Ben reaches home at night, and the door of his room was opened, and Abby's son was also there. He suppresses his fear and tells Ben, "I don't want to go home. And please don't let her come in." Actually, he was talking about Abby meanwhile. Abby comes to Ben's house. She came to take her son, but Ben lies to her that her son isn't here because he felt maybe Abby beat her son. Abby forcefully comes inside Ben's house, as she knows her son is inside. Her husband also comes there. Abby's son comes out after hearing his dad's voice. He says to his dad, "Let's go home, Dad." Ben now suspects them and thinks there is something wrong with their family. He starts spying on them, but he doesn't feel anything strange. Abby was with her husband in the room, and we discovered strange marks on her body, and there was a voice in her bones. It seemed like someone had possessed Abby, or maybe she wasn't Abby. The next day, Ben waits for Abby's son near the seashore so that he can find out what is going on in their house. But Abby's son didn't come, so to find out about him, Ben goes there. He asks his dad about his son, but surprisingly, his dad doesn't know about his son. He says, "About whom you are talking." It seems like he doesn't remember that he has kids. He forgot everything. And Ben finds it strange and returns home, but sees that strange mark that Abby's son saw in the forest, and we saw at the beginning of the story. He takes a picture of it and searches for it on the net. While collecting all the information, he discovers a demon. A scary witch who lives in the roots of the trees in the forest and uses human bodies as clothes. That means she can enter the human body. The person will remain the same, but there will be that witch inside. She has such powers that she can control the human mind and also suck the blood of babies. The blood of the babies whose parents forget them. First, she possessed the parents, and then take their babies with her. That witch has control of Abby's husband's mind, and Abby was dead. The one pretending to be Abby was the demon witch. She was wearing Abby's skin and had eaten the babies of Abby. Anyhow, Ben was shocked to know all this and can't even tell the police about it. Who will believe him? So he calls his friend Mallory and tells her everything. He says, "Our neighbors are weird. Their babies are missing, but they don't care about it." Meanwhile, he sees Abby means that demon witch hiding something in the basement. Mallory writes a note in fun, "We know what you hide in the basement." And she also makes that mark. She throws that note at Abby's house. Abby's husband picks it up, and when he sees that basement after reading it, but Abby stops him and says something in his ear, and his ear starts bleeding. After it, he wasn't in his senses, and he seemed like a half-dead and a half-alive human. Abby's skin was also shedding. She was a demon witch, but the skin was of Abby. Ben's purpose was only to spy on them. He was sure that there is something wrong. One day, he sees Abby moving out of the basement, being ready. After she left, he moves inside immediately while breaking the lock. The scene was strange inside. Something was made after collecting the woods. There was also a skull of an animal. It seemed like black magic has been done here. He finds some snaps, including Abby's family, and there were cross marks on their faces. There were Mallory and Ben's family pictures as well. Seeing this, Ben immediately tries to tell this to Mallory because the witch's next hunt was her family. There was Mallory's younger sister, whose blood that witch want to suck. Ben goes to escape her, but he was late. The witch has taken Mallory to her tunnel. Ben also holds her hand as she was calling for help. He tries hard to escape her, but as he takes her out while holding her hand, his foot slips, due to which his head hits with a stone, and he gets faint. Ben comes to his senses, but the evening appeared, and he goes home, and there was police at his house waiting for him because Abby had reported against him that he spied on her house, but his dad has handled everything. Ben says, "Dad, believe me. The lady in our neighborhood must have done something with her kids," but his dad doesn't listen to him and fights with him. The lady will also stay with them tonight, whom Ben's dad likes. Soon, Ben finds out that the demon witch is now inside that lady because the flowers nearby. She was standing withered. Meanwhile, the demon witch attacks Ben. Ben also attacks her with a knife. But then Ben's dad comes and scolds him a lot and makes him arrest while calling the police. Ben makes his dad understand that there is demon witch in that lady, but he doesn't listen to him. The police also arrest him, and the officer takes him to the seashore instead of police station. The leg of that officer was bleeding because that Dion has also possessed him. He takes Ben to the seashore and was about to end him while drowning him, but then a dog comes. Ben often used to feed this dog, and it came to help him, but the officer ends it too. He was about to end Ben, but don't know what happened to him, and he ends himself. Ben's dad was now worrying about his son and wants to see him while going to the police station, but the lady inside whom was the demon stops him. She stops Ben's dad from going out, but he somehow comes out and sees Abby's house basement. Once he sees that Abby's husband was dead, and Abby's dead body was hollow, means that demon used her body already. Ben's dad has goosebumps seeing this, and he gets scared. That demon witch comes from behind. She wants to end Ben's dad while strangling his neck. Ben also comes from behind and shoots that lady and runs from there with his dad. The demon witch has also taken her real getup, but she needs someone's body in the real world. That's why she runs towards the forest. The basement was set on fire, and the crossed pictures were burnt. Ben here remembers that he has a younger brother who has come here with him, whom we saw at the start of the story. As he remembers all this, he goes to the place where that demon used to live. Mallory was also with him. Ben moves inside that tunnel. There was a roots trap. He asks Mallory to set this place on fire if he did not come out within 10 minutes. Ben now moves inside the tunnel. First, he finds his brother, and then Mallory's sister, and the demon witch attacks him when he was rescuing them. But Ben somehow takes them out, and after this, Mallory and Ben set that place on fire. Mallory sees that place while returning. Ben was also ready to leave for his home. He meets Mallory for the last time, and she gives him a flower. Ben was leaving with his parents in the car, and he sees that flower was fake, which meant now that demon witch was inside Mallory, because as she comes near, the real flowers withered. Mallory had a few kids in the boat, and there is a creepy smile on Mallory's face at the end. Will the evil witch kill the kids as she enters Mallory? Nobody knows. This is the film's dreadful ending.